In about 10 more minutes, we might lose her. In the hospital convenience store where I work, a high school girl suddenly collapsed. Seeing her, the young doctor muttered that, trembling, "I'm just a store clerk." But I felt a strong urge to help her. Her medical record. Huh? Show me your medical record, quick. I snatched the medical file from the young doctor. After thoroughly reading it, I was convinced I could do something. 10 minutes is more than enough time. With that, I took the young doctor with me and headed to the operating room. I could faintly hear the sound of a new chapter starting in my life. My name is Tony Richardson. I'm a man in my 50s working at a hospital convenience store. That being said, I haven't been working at this store for long. It's only been about a month. Up until a year ago, I was in a different line of work. However, I faced a setback there. Tony, what are you planning to do now? I have no idea. How about I introduce you to a place? You could work there for a while till things settle down. Thanks to a referral from my college friend, Bob, I landed this convenience store job. Haha, take your time. Thank you for waiting. At the store, I was swamped with tasks like handling the cash register and stocking shelves. But I could also chat with customers, which made the work enjoyable. It felt like a good mental fit. At the very least, it suited my current self after facing that setback in my previous job. Thank you for waiting. Thanks as always. Thank you very much. A hospital convenience store doesn't have problematic customers like drunk folks or suspicious-looking guys, so it's calm and easygoing. I'm grateful to Bob for introducing me. Although, if I ever mentioned that, he'd probably say, "Then, treat your benefactor to a meal and make me pay for dinner." So, I don't. You're a hard worker, Tony. Not really. And you're so cheerful. You lift my spirits. Here, have this. An elderly woman who often visits the store tends to buy extra candy and leaves some behind for me as a gift. Hey Tony, did you catch the baseball game yesterday? An elderly baseball enthusiast would approach me and passionately discuss the game. There's also a little girl excited about the flowers that blossomed in the courtyard, and a young boy talking about all the things he wants to do once he's discharged. Doctors drop by for a bit of chit-chat during their breaks. All sorts of folks visit the store for some light conversation. Good morning, Tony. Oh, good morning. This girl was admitted about a month ago when I started working here, named Catherine Smith. She'd show up daily and chat about various things. What's wrong with you, by the way? Oh, it's nothing serious. Initially, I might have been a bit intrusive with my questions, but she'd always respond with a warm smile. How long have you been working at this store, Tony? Just recently. Oh, really? Since you started working at the hospital recently, I guess we're like co-workers. She'd say that, smiling happily. She's cheerful and always bright, but there was something that piqued my curiosity. Most people who come to the store usually get discharged in a week or two. However, for someone without a serious illness, she seemed to stay a bit long. You like this character too, Tony? Yeah, can't believe you're into it as well. We do seem to have a lot in common. For some reason, Catherine and I got along well, and she affectionately called me Tony. Even when she had no intention to shop, she'd come to the store and strike up a conversation whenever I was free. Tony, you know, my high school friends visited me the other day. Oh, that's nice. And guess what? One of them accidentally drank another friend's juice. That friend hates sugary drinks and spat it out when she realized. Haha, sounds like quite the mix-up. She sometimes talked about her school teachers. She would constantly switch between expressions, sharing a myriad of stories. Occasionally, she'd talk about her siblings. Indeed, her smile was a source of comfort for me. Other shopkeepers and customers would warmly watch over her, making those moments truly peaceful and pleasant. Tony, what's up? Oh, Catherine's here again. Yeah, but she seems a bit pale today. One day, when Catherine supposedly came to buy a drink, her complexion seemed off. I had a bad feeling about this. Catherine. Oh, excuse me, I'd like to ask. Sure. I wanted to approach Catherine, but at that moment another customer flagged me down. I was concerned about her but had to attend to my job. As I was assisting the other customer. Oh my, are you okay? There was a thud and the sound of items scattering. Everyone in the store was taken aback and rushed over to find Catherine collapsed on the floor. Catherine. I quickly checked her pulse and heart rate. She's unconscious and completely limp. What happened? Catherine collapsed. She's unconscious and her heart rate and pulse are unstable. My shouts apparently got the attention of Catherine's primary doctor. The doctor rushed over immediately. Catherine. The primary doctor was a young physician named Steve Harrison. He would occasionally stop by the shop for some small talk, so I recognized him. We had her surgery scheduled for next week, but it seems we have an emergency now. Steve, appearing overwhelmed, buried his face in his hands. His words helped me grasp the situation. I had previously heard from him about a patient under his care with a rare heart condition. They had been waiting for a surgeon capable of performing the operation. It turns out a surgeon was found, and the patient had been admitted to this hospital to prepare for the surgery. It must have been Catherine. So, her condition drastically changed before her scheduled surgery. Yes. In about 10 minutes, she might. The image of Catherine's smile flashed through my mind. She has so many friends. Every day she seemed to be enjoying herself. I wished for her to have many more happy days. The medical chart. Huh? Show me the medical chart now. Overwhelmed by my demand, Steve handed it over. I snatched it out of his hand. I snatched it and skimmed through, determining I could do this. I'll handle it. What, Tony? With that declaration, I began to change into surgical scrubs. A flustered Steve followed. 10 minutes is more than enough. Tony, don't worry. Come with me. I said this to reassure Steve. I decided to have him assist in the surgery. Tony, how can you perform surgery? I'll explain later. While Steve was still in shock, Catherine was wheeled into the operating room. Dr. Richardson, so you've decided to come back. The head nurse greeted me with those words. I responded with a wry smile. Tony, you were originally a doctor here, weren't you? I'll fill you in later. And not necessarily by choice. I was a bit flustered by the head nurse's comment, but time was of the essence, so we began the surgery immediately. As I declared, I removed the lesion in 10 minutes. Amazing. The head nurse commented on my incredible swiftness with the scalpel. Though her words made me chuckle, in the end, Catherine was moved from the operating room to the ICU a few hours later. Sigh. Excuse me. After the surgery, as I was enjoying my coffee in the break room, Steve approached. You're the legendary heart surgeon, Dr. Richardson, aren't you? Steve asked as he too sipped his coffee. Legendary is a bit much, but I've performed countless surgeries. I replied with a gentle smile. As he said, I had once worked at this hospital, and up until a year ago, I was practicing medicine in the UK. I only came to the hospital after Dr. Richardson had left, so I had only heard the name. I had no idea that the shopkeeper was Dr. Richardson. Steve exclaimed, genuinely surprised. It's unbelievable that a person I met overseas turned out to be the renowned Dr. Richardson. Hearing that brought memories of my dearest one. A single tear rolled down my cheek. Seeing my reaction, Steve looked flustered. Sorry for surprising you. It's okay. Would you mind me sharing my story with you? At my words, Steve nodded. Then, I began talking about myself. After graduating from a foreign medical school, I worked extensively as a heart surgeon. During that time, I've published many books and papers. Many of us, including aspiring doctors, read your publications. Thank you, haha. And during that time, I met my wife, Mia. We met at a mutual friend's house party. Never imagined that the guy I met abroad was the renowned Dr. Richardson. Drawn to her laughter, I pursued her passionately. Mia was cheerful and had many friends. She adored cute things, and while buying her favorite character merchandise, I too became a fan. Will you marry me? Yes. We get married. While we didn't have kids, Mia and I lived happily together. Sorry, I might not be home early today. That's okay. Many people rely on your expertise. Just make sure to spend your next day off with me. Of course, we rarely argued and always supported each other. It was evident how much we loved each other. Do you think you can come home early today? No. I have a long surgery scheduled. You'll do great, renowned doctor. Please, stop that. The moments we thought would last forever came to an abrupt halt. One evening, coming home late from a surgery, I found Mia. My wife lay motionless on the kitchen floor. Mia. Her body was still warm, and the meal she prepared hadn't even cooled yet. But she had passed away. A sudden incident, perhaps timely intervention, could have saved her. I cried until the words "menu to care for Tony" written on the shopping memo blurred and became unreadable. You're a hero who helps a lot of people. Every time I thought of my wife, I found myself thinking, if only the surgery hadn't taken so long that time. Back then, I could feel the lingering warmth of her body growing colder in my hands. After that, whenever a surgery took too long, I'd think, what if something happened to someone important to me, a family member or a friend during this time? With such thoughts, I decided I couldn't continue as a cardiac surgeon. Although some tried to stop me, I resigned from the hospital where I worked. Tony, I'm really sorry to hear about Mia. The person who welcomed me back was Bob. Bob and I belong to the same medical department, and we've been friends for many years. Now, he's returned home and is the director of a hospital. Bob was concerned about me and invited me to stay at his home. I felt guilty both for relying so much on his kindness and for not finding a clear direction in life. Tony, what are you planning to do from now on? That's how he reached out to me. And about a year after returning, I started working at the hospital shop thanks to Bob's recommendation. I had no idea that Dr. Richardson went through all that. Steve, listening to my story, had tears in his eyes. He's such a kind soul. I'm sure he'll become an outstanding young doctor. Dr. Richardson. Dr. Harrison, you're here. The head nurse arrived. I owe a lot to her from the days when I worked as a doctor in this hospital. Catherine is awake. Hearing that, Steve and I hurried to her side. Catherine couldn't speak yet, but she pointed to a board that read, Tony, thank you. Seeing me about to cry, Catherine smiled. Her smile reminded me of Mia's, and I felt grateful to have been able to help. The next day, when Steve and I went to check on Catherine, she seemed to have recovered quite a bit. She was sitting up in bed, smiling. She looked healthier, and it was a relief. Not just for us, but for everyone related to Catherine. Everyone seemed relieved and glad. I'm so glad, Catherine. Truly. A woman who looked like a relative, possibly a parent, was visibly emotional and in tears. But she doesn't appear old enough to be a parent. Too young to be a grandma, that's for sure. I was puzzled, not knowing their relationship. Then, another woman of the same age entered and joined in the joy. You're the doctor who operated on Catherine, right? Thank you for helping Catherine this time. Oh, well. As I was gazing at them, both women greeted me. I'm Tony. I've been close with Catherine for a while. Were you Tony? I'm Jennifer, the director of a children's home. I'm Chloe, a worker at the facility. Both were teachers from a children's home. They then told me more about Catherine. Catherine has been living in the facility since she was little because she doesn't have parents. Typically, most kids leave the facility after graduating from middle school, but Catherine, due to her illness, continued to live there even as a high school student. I see. So, Catherine doesn't have a family. I realized she was talking about the kids from the orphanage when mentioning siblings. Having lost my own family just a year ago, I deeply empathized with Catherine, who never knew her real family. I couldn't help but think, what if she were my child? See you later, Catherine. I'll meet you at the cafeteria later for a drink. Okay. Thanks, Tony. After that, we all left Catherine's hospital room. There, I learned more from one of the orphanage's staff. Catherine once mentioned she wanted to be a doctor because of her illness, but she stopped saying it recently. Really? Why's that? Hearing this, my concerns grew. I assumed Catherine had stopped talking about it due to her circumstances and the high cost of medical school. If that's the case, maybe I could play a guardian angel role. That's what I thought. Tony. Oh, hey, Bob. How about grabbing some dinner? Bob invited me, and we ended up having dinner together. I heard you performed surgery on a kid with just a 10-minute window and saved them. Yep. Something like that. I'm glad you haven't lost your touch even after a year. Bob looked relieved and chuckled. I'm genuinely happy for you. Seems like you've moved on. Bob had always been concerned about me. He supported my relationship with Mia and was overjoyed when we got married. I didn't have much time then, and that particular approach just didn't cross my mind. That's why I was able to help. Good timing. Think about returning to being a doctor. I don't know, but Do you really think you can escape from the head nurse? Remembering the head nurse's persistent gaze, she had been asking, when would you return to being a doctor? Every time she saw me. I guess there's no escaping her now. No chance. I know, right? I even became the head doctor because she pushed me. She has always been strong-willed. Well, I am glad to welcome you back as a doctor. With that, Bob grinned and I returned her smile. I continued to support and watch over Catherine. She enjoyed reading my old medical books, and I wanted to help fulfill her dream. Ah, Dr. Richardson. Chloe. Just the person I wanted to see. Yes. I approached Chloe, who was visiting, to ask if I could potentially support Catherine's tuition. Chloe looked shocked at first but then smiled happily. She's always saying things like, "Wouldn't it be wonderful if Tony was my real dad?" Hearing this unexpected revelation from Chloe, my eyes widened in surprise. Catherine always dreamt of being adopted. Learning this, I couldn't help but contemplate. My current apartment is too small, so it'd been nice to buy a larger house. Finances aren't an issue. Both me and I have always preferred activities like walking in the park or sitting by the sea over spending money. That's why we have quite a bit saved up. We could even afford to pay for a house in full. Catherine. Yes. What kind of house would you like? I'd like one with a garden. It'd be nice to take a break from studying and walk a dog. Hearing her say that, I added another item to my list. To me, Catherine is something like a benefactor. She encouraged me to return to my medical career when I thought it was over. Since Catherine's surgery, due to strong recommendations from Bob, who turned out to be the director here, and from the head nurse, I've been planning to return to my medical duties soon. Catherine, how about coming to live in my house? Huh? With all my gratitude for Catherine, and hoping she might join the same profession in the future, I decided to take her in. Really, I'm so happy. Can I be like Tony's child? I'll provide for your further education, of course. I'll ensure you have a conducive environment for studying. Also, once you're discharged, let's go pick out a dog. That's wonderful for you, Catherine. Many of your dreams are coming true. Yes. Catherine and Chloe were both delighted, which naturally brought a smile to my face. Now, I need to start preparations to welcome Catherine. Bob has a daughter who lives independently. Maybe he can give me some advice. With these thoughts, I joined Catherine in considering the type of dog and house she'd like. Next week, Catherine is scheduled to move into the new house I've purchased. I'm thrilled at the thought of having a lovely daughter or granddaughter. She's in stable condition, which is a relief to Steve as well. Apparently, Catherine had always been a good student. However, since she had to look after the younger kids at the institution, she couldn't focus entirely on her studies. Indeed, I remember her mentioning her mischievous siblings once. There's a study room ready for you. Make sure you study hard. Yes, I got it. When she comes to my place, I want her to study as much as she wishes. I plan on handling the housework. I've cooked with Mia before and always took the initiative during my days off. So, I'm quite handy around the house. I want Catherine to relax and behave as a child should. As for Steve, Doctor, I really want to hear your stories. Ha, can you hold on a sec? He started following me, continually calling out, "Doctor, doctor." Whenever he gets a chance, he wants to hear my stories. He reminds me of the time when Catherine would visit the shop, which brings a smile to my face. It seems Steve's like Dr. Richardson's disciple. Huh? That's what they say. Bob also teases us by referring to me as Tony's disciple or master doctor. But if he teases too much, the head nurse scolds him, saying, "Stop the teasing and get back to work." The head nurse is, as always, someone I can't defy. Wow, it's huge. Finally, the day of Catherine's discharge arrived. Everyone was thrilled to see her off, and she came to our home. "Tony, let's go check out the dogs. First, let's put down the bags. Once we've settled a bit, we'll head out." Chuckling at an excited Catherine, I set her bags down. I intended to rest for a bit after that, but seeing Catherine getting antsy, we decided to go check out the dogs. Every single one of them is just so adorable. After much contemplation, we chose a brown puppy. Subsequently, Catherine named the puppy Buddy and doted on him a lot. I had a medical condition, so I couldn't join clubs at school. Heck, I couldn't even do activities that required a lot of movement. From now on, You can start moving bit by bit, especially while playing with Buddy. Okay. Afterwards, Catherine managed to go to school and was seen happily walking to and from school with her friends. When she returned home, she'd cuddle with Buddy and play with him. It was incredibly heartwarming to see. Of course, she diligently kept up with her studies as well. Tony, there's something I'd like some help with. Sure, what is it? She always reached out whenever she needed assistance, making it fulfilling for me to guide her. However, I wished she wouldn't read my thesis papers right in front of me. Hello, Tony. Oh, Chloe. From then on, Chloe started visiting us more frequently. Chloe said that she considered Catherine like her own daughter, so naturally, she was concerned about her. I've taken care of Catherine since she was tiny. I've heard about her dreams many times. While Catherine was studying, Chloe and I would sometimes have coffee together. I hope I'm not causing any inconvenience, Tony. I mean, I've been visiting quite frequently. You must be pretty busy, right? Don't worry about it. Everyone has been considerate, letting me head home early for Catherine and Buddy's sake. Of course, there are days when I have surgeries or emergencies. Yet, they still tell me to go home early if it's for Catherine. I may not be as skilled as Dr. Richardson, but remember I'm here too. Steve often reassured. It always comforted me to know I could rely on him. Although, right after getting back from the convenience store, I admit I wouldn't want anything too strenuous. I guess there's also the fact that my body might not be up for it. Oh, is that so? That's good to hear. Oh, Chloe, didn't realize you were here. Just dropped by, Catherine. While we were chatting and laughing leisurely, Catherine popped out holding Buddy. Catherine had an incredibly joyful look on her face. What's up? Here. I just thought this is probably how it'd feel if I had a mom and dad around. Hearing Catherine's words filled with joy, I felt a touch bashful. Tony. Yes. Is it okay if I visit on a personal note from time to time? Yes. Catherine responded to our conversation with another bright smile. After that, Catherine put in more effort than ever before, making up for all the time she couldn't. Her grades shot up, and she finally got into med school. We celebrated her success with Buddy and Chloe. It's a long journey to become a doctor, but I believe in you, Catherine. I'll work hard. One day, I'll become a doctor like you, Tony, and help many people. That's the spirit. By the time Catherine becomes a doctor, I might already be retired. But by then, Steve will be a seasoned physician, and maybe I can enjoy a quiet life with Chloe and Buddy. In the UK, I gained a lot of recognition. It's a place filled with memories, where I still have ongoing friendships and met people I deeply loved. However, there are also painful memories of losing my dear family members. Tony, you know, I used to think about becoming a cardiologist like you, but I've decided to go into pediatrics. Pediatrics? Yeah, I've always been around kids. I want to be able to give them a better future. Catherine is truly remarkable. Meeting her has been an irreplaceable experience. I genuinely hope that our life, as we go past our 50s, will be peaceful with Catherine by my side. Doctor, about the upcoming surgery. I was thinking of leaving it to you, Steve. Thank you. Will you assist me? Yes, of course. That said, now that I'm back, continuous training as a cardiologist is essential. I'm also committed to nurturing the younger generation in the field. Steve, who seemed a bit unreliable when we first met, has now become a renowned doctor trusted by all. I need to make sure I keep up with him. So, how are things with your girlfriend? You know, it's usual. Steve chuckles at the teasing remark from Bob. There's only one girl Bob is referring to. Honestly, I can't think of anyone but Mia as my wife. She seems to understand that and has never pushed too hard. Well, it's Catherine and Buddy have been trying to play matchmaker between us. I'd be so happy if my two favorite people got together. Hearing Catherine's comment, while Buddy ran back and forth between us, we couldn't help but give a wry smile. When such stories were shared at work, Steve would laugh, saying it sounded just like something Catherine would say. By the way, Dr. Richardson. What's up? What would you think if I told you that I might become your son-in-law? Steve's words caught me off guard. It seems Steve and Catherine, always trying to make the most of every day with a smile, had grown close. That's why, when Catherine got into med school, Steve confessed, and they started dating. Dr. Richardson. Sorry, I zoned out. Just make sure you both find happiness, okay? Yes. I decided to trust Steve's words with a smile. And when I got home after work, Catherine and Chloe were preparing dinner together. Thank you, both of you. It's no problem. For me, Chloe's cooking tastes like home. I've always wanted to learn, and making dinner together was something I always looked forward to. I left the kitchen to the two smiling women and petted the playful buddy. Mia, I haven't fully moved on from you, and none of us are blood related, but can we be happy as a family? I felt like Mia, from the photo, was smiling in approval. Years later, Catherine would get married and would call Chloe and me mom and dad, making us cry. For such futures, I will continue striving to save lives every day.